Beloved brothers and sisters, I'm Geeia Ariati. I am here as the oracle for the 144. I am of sound heart and sound mind. So today I am specifically wanting to speak around something that is a little more challenging to the human mind and the concepts that we create in relation to demonic energies and the feeding of uh, the dark feminine specifically, and blood sacrificial energies, the energies that keep these entities or these consciousnesses at bay. And it has been something that I've desired to write in depth in relation to, and yet has not yet been time. And I'm aware as to why. So I'm currently aware that if you have not heard this concept, that we are not our body, right? Our body is an organic organism. It has its own consciousness. So I, being Geeia Ariati, is the spirit essence of this unique source frequency that sits within this body, this vessel. And this vessel's name is Delilah. And Delilah has had two previous incarnations on Earth. And so she's moving through her own karmic cleanup, her own karmic experiential learning. Now, the I of Geeia Ariati doesn't feel the same level of trauma or emotional attachment to anything that is of Delilah's consciousness. But we are in union here together in this experience. She has information that I don't have, and I assist her, and we work together to be in service for humanity. So her mission is just as profound as my mission is, in the fact that she is here to be of service at all costs. Now, we know that those beliefs are an amazing gift for us when we have a belief system that is there of, I am here to be in service no matter what. But then we also recognize that there's a lot of self-sacrifice, and there's a lot of things that take place where we hurt ourselves in the name of God, in the name of our mission. And so both Delilah and I have had some very strong programming in relation to this, and we have been the self-abandoned in the name of God. Now, her challenges in this are not far from the difference of what my challenges were, of self-abandonment in the name of love, self-abandonment in the name of healing, self-abandonment in the name of being of service. And so this self-abandoning of my own needs and my own truth in the name of the mission and purification has been the challenge. So if you are new to receiving any of my transmissions, I am the consciousness of that which goes by the name of Isis or Ninasak. I hold a extremely high level of information within my body, or Delilah holds a huge amount of information within her body that she's agreed to carry here in connection to the Alexander Library, the halls of Amenti, the Akashic Records, and she holds a mass amount of galactic coding and templates to be of service, to gift those in our soul family, the bringers of change, and to share this information for those that have been unable to carry it themselves. So she's holding and has held so much for the collective. She has held like galactic libraries, you could say, where it's been my job to be the initiator. So when you are in these transmissions, you're receiving these codes, right? She has the capacity to go, okay, this can be released here, this can be released here, this can be released here, and she's doing her part here as the activator that we've chosen to be, and this initiator into greater truth. So she's scanning what I don't even have the capacity to become aware of in the awareness of who is perceiving this in the now moment, but then also who's going to receive it in the future. And so her technology is far beyond what any human can perceive and make sense of. And we work together as an amazing team. And so what she's currently moving through in her detoxification is what this transmission will be about. And so if you haven't received any of my transmissions before, please be prepared, especially when we are talking about demonic energies, darkness, and some of the areas of consciousness that people just steer straight away from. They do not want to be the speakers of the level of the shadow that exists. They want to stay in the fluffiness of love and light. And unfortunately, when we do that, we continue the peaks and the falls. We rise our frequency, then we plummet into the shadow, and we go into these death processes. Whereas if we can start to see truth, we can start to cultivate a middle way so that the tethering is more conducive to our human experience. And so, in relation to receiving this, just be aware that Delilah is giving you these frequencies, these codes, this information as I bring you a higher expression of consciousness through the truth of who I be in a high frequency being in this reality. And so it can activate Kundalini. You can activate remembrance. Your soul's purpose can start to make more sense. You can lock in these pieces that all of a sudden everything that you've been looking at and journeying through has a different perspective lens because you're seeing it through the eyes of truth, and the missing pieces come together. You may have shakes, you may have purging, you may have a physical repulsion to even sitting and receiving this because it's too much for you at this point in time, and that's okay too. So please be aware of where you're at, how sensitive you are, where your nervous system is, and if you can receive information in relation to some of the more dense demonic expressions that are. So why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this because Delilah has been a vessel for other beings, not just for me. So Delilah holds the information and the coding of her previous incarnations as a consciousness, and she has been a vessel for, so her consciousness, she was a vessel for Devi Parvati, or what we could also say as the goddess Kali. Now I'm understanding from my own interpretation why I have so much resistance to this specific frequency and energy. And what has become very apparent is she was contracted to continue the feeding of the goddess Kali. Now, in Hinduism and in other religions, we've mutated the messages, and we've mutated the messages so much that we don't actually see the true purity of what is there that keeps us entrapped in religion and separation, and we don't unlock the truth of who we are. So there are gods and goddesses that are purified, and there's also that ones that still sit in separation, false light, and in a false sense of power, because a demonic consciousness is an energy that sits in the one-dimensional plane of existence. And in that plane of existence, you actually don't have power. You only have power from what you've fed off. And so these beings that are working in the underworld, that are being of service to their reality, are taking from those that are from a higher frequency of information, and they feed and they draw. And so what has been really interesting about being in Bali, Indonesia, is that most of the Balinese are Hindu. And so I understand why I'm here, so that I can help purify the consciousness of Delilah, because my consciousness has been purified. My consciousness is sitting in its totality, and that there is no distortion within my own essence at this point in time. It is in the full purity of source. Yes, there is parts to be unlocked, but I am sitting in full trust, surrender, and the clear conduit expression. Yet my vessel, not so much. And so there's an incongruency of union there, right? Because we're meant to come into union. How can I come into union while she's still dancing in the realms of demonic consciousness? And so this is where my fragmentation is occurring, because my body does not hold the ability to hold my my consciousness at the level of integrity that is required for my mission. And so with the Hindu culture, as we're here, there are every day they gift offerings to the ancestors. Every day they give offerings and pray to the gods, and they pray to the gods to receive specific energy frequencies. Now, I have spoken a lot about the demiurge and the Anunnaki, and the gods of Hinduism are no different to any of the other gods. They are the original creative beings. The demiurge, the beings that were of some form of extraterrestrial or higher consciousness expression in physical form. And that's why they are considered superhuman and gods, because they were a physical representation of a higher consciousness that came in with a connection that was more connected to these higher states of expression. And so you see that these beings of like these beautiful Balinese people, gorgeous humans, but they do not have the awareness of what they're actually praying to, because their religion has been mutated. And so they pray to all of the gods. Now, when they're praying to all of the gods, they're praying to the purified ones and the unpurified ones. So when we talk about different lands, people are like, oh, it feels so high vibrational in some areas and so demonic in others, because that's what's taking place. It's not a purified religion, and there is people that are devoting themselves to these energies, which is feeding that. So literally creating realities and strengthening these consciousnesses, regardless of where they sit, they are strengthening the consciousness by praying every day and giving this information to this false god, and not knowing that by the distortion of the narrative of the expression that this specific god is not of the light, because of how much mutation we've had in our reality. And so what you see these beautiful people putting out their ancestral offerings in the morning, and they're gifting out, and they actually ask. It's a protection. So they put it at their front door, and it's a protection to keep away bad spirits, to keep away bad energies. In the knowing that they know a lot about black magic, they know a lot about these things, yet they're still also tricked in who they are putting their energy into, which continues the distortion and the entanglement of truth. And so there's an inability to really see truth in the full alignment of any religion in this current reality, because every religion has done this. Every religion has you thinking that this is light and this is dark, and this is good and this isn't, and the mutation of the two together, and not being able to actually see the purification of what was spoken, and that the law of one exists within all of these points. And so these people are, putting an offering out. They're trying to keep their ancestors happy, because they want to keep their ancestors happy because they want a blessing. So effectively, if we look at this from the construct of what I'm trying to express, is that when you are feeding or gifting or offering, there's an offering to the ancestor to keep them happy, so that you're blessed with goodwill. There is an exchange taking place. So you're like, I'll give you this and you'll give me this. And this is how false light and demonic energies work. They trick you. Now, the Hindu culture is based on a lot of trickery. And it's so fascinating to see, because these Balinese beings and anyone that follows this religion are beautiful people, right? They're very beautiful people. And they are very heart-centered, and they have such humility. And yet their religion is so distorted, and they don't even recognize. And so what happens is there is this exchange that keeps them entrapped in this, I'll feed you this and you give me this, and I'll feed you this and you give me this. Now, so as within, so without. So what happens when you're giving an offering? You're putting a plate of food or things out to be like, I'm going to keep my ancestors happy, and I'm also going to acknowledge them. And this works in positive and negative, however you would like to look at it. There are ancestors that they will give you their guardianship free of offerings, right? Because they are doing it from the truth of source. And when you are doing that from source, there's an expression of, thank you for witnessing me, thank you for acknowledging me, and I would like to be in service to your mission. And that's the exchange, is that you are both connecting in with God, Source, Creator. And so as this exchange takes place, we can start to see, okay, where does this happen internally? Because many of the bringers of change, the 144, you are directly connected to the demiurge. You are connected to the bloodlines of the gods. That is absolutely 110% a part of your bloodline, and how connected you are to your DNA strands into this superhuman expression. So what if your bloodline is connected to one of these more demonic consciousnesses? What if your bloodline is connected to one that is being fed these constant expressions? You're going to have them working through your ancestral line, working through your vessel, working through you in ways that you're unaware of. Now for Delilah, Delilah was contracted to, and how I can make even more sense of this into a more zoomed out lens, is that Devi Parvati was the light expression. She was a light worker, a pillar. She was a 144, right? That's what she is. Devi Parvati, the goddess known in this religion, was a bringer of change. And she, when she was unable to hold her pillar of light, she would separate, like we all separate, right? When we are not holding our pillar of light, we go into shadow consciousness, ego, disconnect from source, and we allow for something to come out of us. This is when the shadow self is not you. It is not what you are, but it will take over you because it's an expression of a false narrative of who you are, or it's an opportunity for something or someone to move through you because you've disconnected from your light. And so Devi Parvati being housed in Delilah's consciousness in that incarnation, they were working in union together. And what happened was Delilah, in her service to the greater mission, was like, that's okay, I'll self-sacrifice and I will give the offerings and the feeding as much as I can to keep the goddess Kali happy. Now, so if you don't know the story, Devi Parvati, when she got angry, she would shapeshift and she would morph into Kali. Now that's demonic possession. That is the shape-shifting ability that was very much written throughout all different histories you hear of different gods and goddesses that were one thing, and then they would turn in their wrath into something else. Now, it's not that was who they were. It was that they were a two-spirited or a double energy. You could even say someone who was a double agent, right? Because they're playing this role of being a light pillar, and then they are in this energy of what is not of God. And so in this experience, what happens is the offering to that energy. And so what you may start to have been placing and making sense of now is that demonic consciousnesses, they not only feed off light, they feed off flesh. They feed off the physical interpretation of blood, which is why blood sacrifice and any ritualistic expressions through blood is not, in my opinion, in my knowing, that of purity, because it is a representation of the loss of life. It is an energy of death. It is an energy of decay and release. So why would one reconsume their release? Why would one re-enter or eat something that is of dead life form? It doesn't even make cognitive sense. However, we are so mutated as beings, as human beings, that we actually can't function at this point in our reality from a completely vegan diet. There are very few people that can do that. And where this comes from is the mutation between light and dark through the bloodlines of the ancestral expression of things or beings like Delilah, who was housing Devi Parvati's consciousness, and then going, it's okay, I'll sacrifice my needs to feed Kali what she needs so that you can continue your work to the best of your ability. And so there was the eating of human flesh. There was the eating of specific animal expressions to feed the demons within, right? So We find that hard, right? There's a really challenging part of us going, oh, well, if I eat a lot of meat, am I feeding demonic energies? And there is a very real truth about that. And there is a point that we are also mutated, and the cellular structure and the genetic chromosomes of the human body require meat at this point because of how mutated we are. And it's not until we hit the ability where our fifth dimensional being or our vessel can recalibrate to its original divine blueprint that we can be a vegan again, that we can be one that would just have enough sustenance from water, from the sun, from being, from chi, that we don't need all of these extra additional aspects to sustain our body. But in the moment we do, and it's not that you are being in that of what Satanism is, but it does bring an extra awareness to how do I bless the life form of this being that is keeping me alive until I can ascend beyond this point? How is it that I can acknowledge the life that was chosen to assist me in nurturing my being? How can I be more present with my choices around proteins and animal animal products that are being consumed, and which animal products are assisting my vessel, and which ones am I still consuming that are actually toxic for my being, and I haven't let go of that based on whatever patterns of self-sabotage or different belief systems or nurturing or codependency of addiction, and looking at that from a very holistic place of it's not that you are doing anything other than what is needed, but how do you change your lens of perspective around it? And so as I bring this awareness, it's an awareness of that it's very physical and it's very ethereal. So we can't separate these aspects. We are feeding these dark consciousnesses until we don't. Until we choose that it's not something that is of service to me because I'm reclaiming that part of myself. I'm purifying that part of myself. I'm no longer choosing to align to that. But I will be a part of allowing my ego or my identity and what has kept me alive in this reality, and that's the part, it's this reality. This is what is in our current reality. We are not coming in fifth dimensional vessels. We are not coming in remembrance. We are not coming here in a way that we are taught how to transmute our energy or keep our Kundalini current flowing. And so until we do, these are all parts of our experience. They are tools that we use to function and to stay in a physical life, literally, that so for instance, we are using these tools to stay alive. Now, a lot of people judge different addictions. A lot of people will judge what is being represented as being a coping mechanism as bad. It's actually not, right? These addiction cycles, whatever they were, they actually really serve you and they really assist you. Because if you ask any heroin addict, or if you ask any ice addict that's in recovery, or anyone that's been through a lot of trauma like myself that has had many and multiple addictions, who would have you been without your addiction at that time? Everyone will say, I would be dead, right? So it's kept you alive. And there's absolutely no shame in trying to stay alive in a reality that is around survival and that is full of pain and suffering. That if you didn't have these coping mechanisms, that you would not be present in your experience to the now moment. And then when you learn new tools, you can release these tools in the awareness that they served until they no longer serve, and your vibration rose and it became a higher expression of truth for you to acknowledge and why that was there from both lenses, so that you can purify and transmute it and come into more totality of yourself. And so what is here is this awareness of the rise of the feminine, right? And when we say the rise of the feminine, we mean the rise of the divine feminine, the true feminine. And what happens for that to happen and to truly have this divine feminine pillar come and meet, not overtake, but meet the masculine in a union of that they are both different, is that the exposure of the light feminine in its distortions and the dark feminine in its distortions have to be seen, because the divine feminine is neither light nor dark. The divine feminine is a representation of a pillar of source frequency that is expressing intuitive guidance. They are here to be the consorts. They are here to be the conduits. They are here to be the expressors of intuition and guidance and share. This feels good and I'm seeing this, and to confirm the masculine's way forward, to confirm and to assist the villagers, to be of assistance in greater possibility beyond the construct of mind. And that can only take place when these fragmentations of light and dark coming together in union. And so what we are seeing, and then what we will see in the coming times, is that we're purifying this dark feminine satanic consciousness from the collective energy at the moment and from the earth, and so from the body. And that will be in your own experience as well. You will be starting to purge through this dark feminine feeding, and so that is the energy of the succubus. The succubus is the one that wants to be seducing and literally feed through sexual energy. So if you like look at the succubus in the stories, and you start to look at some of these fairy tales or mythological expressions, you'll see that they are telling you exactly what is happening. And it's just that we have an idea that this isn't true and real, but it's happening in all layers on all dimensions. And so a woman that's in her succubus energy, she will often make love to a man and feed off his chi, off his life force, and take his energy and charge herself up from it, because she's yet to fully cultivate her own power, her own connection to source through her kundalini or through her sexual energy. And so this feeding in not only the light form but the physical form is, where are we feeding off people through the receiving of their consciousness? Where are we feeding off them by taking aspects of their abilities? Where are we feeding parts of ourselves that are not ourselves, and we don't even realize that we're doing that to keep a sense of peace and calm within us? Because if we starve that creature roars and it makes itself known. And so where are we feeding so that we don't go into conflict? Where are we feeding so that we don't have to see the bad spirits or the sorcery or the black magic or the demonic expressions in our lives? And it's like, okay, that's all right. I'm quite happy to keep feeding this because I really don't want to look at it, because it's really uncomfortable. Because it is uncomfortable. I don't feel we have a direct channel in here today, which is great because I am a little fatigued. Because I have to go deal with my my cannibalism, right? So what's in my body is basically the energy signature of blood sacrifice and cannibalism. Now, for what I've been aware of the last few days, I've been eating a lot. And I was like, what am I preparing for? I'm really eating such a lot of food. Like, I'm being prepared for something. And when it dropped all in, that I would be purging from Delilah the cannibalism and the blood sacrifice energy that has been contracted to feed Kali, to keep her at bay, not just from Devi Parvati, but from humanity. And this is where we can sacrifice ourselves in ways that we cannot even perceive from human mind, of like, whoa, okay. So my consciousness, being that of the goddess Isis, she had a very messed up idea of purity. And so she chose to partake in some very satanic forms of temple practice in the ancient Egyptian times in the name of purity and purification, and the distortions through the forgetting of God and through the mutations that occurred through the Draco-Reptilian distorted counterparts, which, if you are interested in distorted counterparts and how that took place, there is a direct channel in relation to how our Holy Family was separated and they were cloned and copied with the energy signatures of our divine counterpart, but mutated with a Draco-Reptilian energy. So many of us have journeyed with false counterparts and individuals that are holding a demonic energy and a false light expression as a way to show us the distortions within our energy field to purify what is there for us. But we've been tricked many, many, many times. And so in this trickery, in that incarnation, tricked myself to believe that if I was conducting these different ceremonies in the name of purity of God, that anything that was not of God I would hold. And so because the goddess Isis is an absolutely amazingly powerful, I'm going to say magician, she is the goddess of magic, she created different energy frequency loops that would basically take on people's pain and suffering and distortions into herself to transmute it so that they didn't move through the distortion of being a part of that ceremonial practice or that ritual. Now, what did that mean for me in this incarnation? It meant that I was holding thousands of people's satanic abuse. I was holding thousands of people's expressions of being a part of physical mutilation in the name of purification, and which is still happening in ancient Egypt. You've got genitalia mutation in the name of purification, and those aspects were held in my consciousness until I could release them in the recognition that this was not helpful, and I had to forgive myself for all of the things that I had done and been a part of that were not in the name of God, and to come into this point of where I can speak to you about this because I've lived it, I've journeyed it, I've remembered it, and I have spent hours upon hours upon hours purging the most darkest matter you can imagine. And what that meant was the manifestation. I had the energy signature of human flesh that was stored in my sacral chakra in the name of purifying the collective. And so I was no different to Delilah, and you, if you're listening this far, are no different to me, that you are feeding in the name of God, and that you are purifying and taking on and transmuting energies that are not yours in the name of God and the greater plan. And this isn't serving us anymore. This was a part of us being of assistance to a certain period of time. Now it's a limitation. Now it's a distortion. Now it's actually creating the separation that we don't desire, because we've come to the point of reverse engineering where we've started where we begun. And so where we begun is the evolved expression of the purified original blueprints is what is needed to come into the embodiment of who we are, which is what we will see in the transition of the earth. The earth is going to transition into the original purified expression of the earth, which is what we came here to be and create. So what was created in the last 42,000 years from the point of the Anunnaki and Sumeria and Lemuria, we have gone back in time, moved through, cleared, purified, moved through, cleared, purified, worked on the karmic imprint, rechanged the timelines, basically affixed the fuckery. I get in trouble for speaking out of turn. We have gone back in time and fixed the distortions of misaligned truth and come back to the original birth point. And that's what we're in. So it's like we've gone from from where we were back through reverse engineering all the way back, and now we're back at the beginning. So if you imagined that we are seeding the human race now, that is what we're doing. We are seeding the human race without the demonic consciousnesses, without the patriarchy, without the fragmentation. We have this opportunity to actually be a purified fifth dimensional being that is coming into the physical representation of life here and now. And that is exciting. So why wouldn't we want to look at these icky things and go, actually, yeah, I don't want this in my new reality. I'm ready to let go of it. And it's not that we necessarily have to go back in time to clear it. What is it that I need to claim and know so that I can release what does not resonate to that? So what does my fifth dimensional expression of my vessel not resonate with? Sit down and journal it. Sit down and go, yeah, my fifth dimensional version of myself would not be doing this, would not be doing this, would not be doing this, and would be doing this, would be doing this, and start to see where you're misaligned to creating that in your life. You don't have to go into these intense purging processes, because beings like myself are doing it for the collective. And it's okay, because we've been training ourselves for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime to be this, to be here, so that I can sit here and look like I'm talking to you about a topic, and simultaneously my monadic self is rewiring your neural pathways, recalibrating your DNA strands, and pulling away all of the energy signatures that are coming up as I'm speaking to be moved through, so that you can align more and more to your essence without having to do what I've done, without having to do what my beautiful brothers and sisters of this leadership that are walking the way, because that's what we're doing. We're clearing the pathway forward. We're making the space so that you can show up here and receive what inside is there for you. And by doing this, you can then go, all right, if in this new reality, if we were going back to creating the earth as heaven on earth, and this beautiful capacity of ability, and I didn't look at what my brain is telling me this experience is now, what would it be like? What would that feel like? What relationships would be here? How would I be in my body? What is my authentic expression without all of these stories? How do I claim that? And so it is this exciting time, because effectively, many of you are going to be purifying, if you're choosing to stay for this journey, just by being here. That the molecules of the earth, that your cells are transmuting, that if you're staying in a place of presence, that you can have these rapid awakenings, that you can move through density that took me 18 months of everyday purification and bath processes and gagging and all of the icky stuff, going into extreme amounts of physical pain to release infiltration, because that's what's happened. We've moved beyond the tipping point, which means this can happen with more ease and grace. This can happen with rapid, fast transformation, but we have to let go of that previous narrative. We have to let go of the attachment to the story of religion. We have to let go of the idea of that I need meat. And let go of the idea of what relationship is. Let go of the idea of who I am. Let go of the idea of what I think is right. And even the things that are aligned and beautiful in my life, let go of my attachments to those being on my highest timeline, and to be okay with change. And if you're okay with change, and if you're okay with opening and listening, then you can surrender just to the frequency that's moving through the quantum field, so that what I'm about to go and sit with over there in my own process to clear this feeding of a demonic consciousness that I had no idea that I was a part of, because it wasn't the I, which is my spirit essence, but my vessel, that ripple effect of taking such a powerful being, that which is I and that which is Delilah, that has been unconsciously feeding a demonic presence, but through lack of awareness. And I'm not angry at myself. How was I supposed to know? It's something that's happened. I am aware of it, and I'm also aware that I have been given the correction code. So a lot of you are here bringing in the reconciliation and the correction code. So it's not, yeah, I did fuck up in the past. I did make mistakes in the past, or I did lose my sight of God, and I did make these decisions in the name of purity or help and realize that they really weren't that helpful. But now I can choose the correction of what that is in truth. And so by me being such a being that would be feeding a huge amount of Kali's power and having a divine justice role in the galactic trials, will be able to actually witness what is at play and ensure that this being is unable to infiltrate the consciousness of others. And that loses power, and that also brings an opportunity that she can be purified, but she will not be in the representation that religion has painted her. And there are people that will continue to devote to her, and so they will just feed and bring that consciousness back into life form. But it will allow for the opportunity for others to recognize and see and witness where these energies play out just in your here and now reality. Because you take that away and you clear and you're like, actually, I'm no longer feeding that. That ripples out. And people go, oh, shit, this person in my life has been feeding off me, and I've been letting them, and I realized how much of my time, energy, abundance, creation has been going into them and not into my creations of what I'm bringing into the world. And that doesn't work for me anymore, and I won't play out these different patterns of behavior. So with this I am complete. And I am grateful that this spark of inspiration came through, because I have been feeling depleted. If you are desiring any assistance, because some of you will know if you're one of those beings that can rapidly purify just through the surrender process, just asking, you're exactly where you need to be. You'll see exactly what you need to see. You'll be one of those beings that's getting the beautiful assistance of the quantum field by just being. And that's perfect. And then there's going to be others that are going to have dreams, visions, remembrances, and recognition that they need to see that they may need some assistance with some of these darker frequencies. And me and my beautiful beloved sister, Sophia Rose, we are trained specifically in working with underworld energies, working with feeding tubes, working with the Draco-Reptilian agenda, working with the false light narratives of the Galactic Federation, and all of the manipulation that has taken place on the consciousness that keeps you from the clarity of your authentic self and your highest timeline. So if you do need assistance with some of these things, because we are trained in satanic abuse, we are survivors of pedophilia, we are in this incarnation have journeyed the realms of hell as many possible ways as you can imagine, through addiction, through homelessness, through domestic violence, through narcissistic abuse, through a severe gaslighting of parental programming, through abandonment. You name it, we have done it. So there is a personal experience that allows us to also hold this space and have the compassion and the love for ones that do not know yet how to move through this or why this has taken place, because each and every one of you has experienced what you experienced in your human experience to get to a point that you can be of service to what you've mastered. Yet you might not be in the mastery yet, and you may need a little bit of help, support, and love. So please reach out. My Linktree has the different ways that you can support me that if you are feeling the call to donate to my mission so I can continue to show up in these ways, I am gratefully receiving. And if you would like to book an appointment, you can either email me at geeia.ariati@gmail.com, which is GEEIA.ARIATI at gmail.com. And you can also contact me on Telegram, which I will place into the comments of this video, and some other links on social media. I am grateful for all of the comments that come through here. If I do not respond, it's not because I don't want to. I absolutely love hearing the reflections of things that come through and the awarenesses and the unfoldings. I've had many people say that they unlocked huge amounts of their consciousnesses and they were just guided into my presence. And so it's really beautiful to receive that and to assist me to know that I am also fully on path, because you are the mirrors of me, and it is a contribution to my heart to receive these messages. So I love you, I love you, I love you, and I know that this had multiple layers of information in multiple ways, and it has probably sparked a lot of interest in your brain, but try, please, not to go into seeking and searching, but instead sit in self-contemplation and self-recognition, a bit of self-inquiry to what maybe you want to understand more and why. What part of you wants to understand it more? Because it's not about looking further outside, it's actually about recognizing why this was a resonant transmission for you to receive, as to what's to unlock and to be cleared and transmuted and reclaimed here. I love you. Ahava.